Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Again, good morning. Consideration of agenda items. Any additions or corrections to the agenda?
Hearing none, move to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Kruger. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Pohlmeyer. Any discussion? Hearing none, proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Consent agenda.
Move to approve the consent agenda, Mr.
Motion by Commissioner Szymanski.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Wright. Any discussion? Hearing none, proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I have a proclamation to read, and we'll get a report regarding this a little bit later in our agenda, but the proclamation is in regards to 4-H Week, October 4th through the 10th, 2020. 4-H is America's largest youth developmental organization, has supported almost 6 million youth across the country thus far. And whereas 4-H has helped 350 youth in the past year in McLeod County to become confident, independent, resilient, and compassionate leaders. Whereas 4-H is delivered by Cooperative Extension, a community of more than 100 public universities across the nation that provides experience where young people learn by doing hands-on projects in areas including health, science, agriculture, and citizenship. Whereas National 4-H Week showcases the incredible experiences that 4-H offers to young people and highlights the remarkable 4-H youth in McLeod County who work each day to make positive impact on those around them. Whereas the 4-H network of 600,000 volunteers, 3,500 professionals provide caring, supportive mentoring to all 4-Hers, helping them to grow into true leaders, entrepreneurs, and visionaries. Now, therefore, I, Joe Nagel, do hereby proclaim October 4th through the 10th, 2020 as 4-H Week throughout McLeod County. I encourage all citizens to recognize 4-H for their significant impact it has made and continues to make by empowering youth with the skills they need to lead for a lifetime. That's one of the funner ones to read, Darcy. All right, we look forward to your report here in just a little bit. So we'll take care of a couple other agenda items. We need to pay some bills.
Mr. Chairman, I move the payment of the bills.
Motion by Commissioner Szymanski.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Kruger. Payment of the bills in the amount of $193,058.88. Any discussion? Hearing none, proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Our COVID update. Barrett, you're first. Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. So as of late, yesterday afternoon, October 5th already, we had a total of 512 positive cases in McLeod County since the start of the pandemic. 49% being male, 51% female. That trend seems to continue. Unfortunately, we had our county's third COVID-19 related death this past Saturday. Of those 512 positive cases, 30 residents have been hospitalized due to COVID-19. At this time, we only have 2 who are hospitalized, so grateful for those lower numbers there. 500 or 98% who have tested positive are out of isolation, so grateful for that as well. Our cumulative rate of testing per 10,000 for McLeod County, it's 2,873. And for the state of Minnesota, 3,666, which continues to trend like it has the last few times I've reported. The cumulative positive test rate for McLeod County is 4.6%, and the state being at 5.3%. The race of those testing positive, non-Hispanic at 55%, those identifying as Hispanic or Latinx at 40%, Black and American Indian at less than 1% each, and the remainder, which is about 3%, not reporting a race. The location of the positive COVID-19 tests in our county, Glencoe at 44%, Hutchinson 32%, Lester Prairie at 9%, Winstead, 7%, Silver Lake, 2%, and Stewart and Plato coming in at 1% each, Brownton at 2%, and the remainder, 3%, not reporting their location. This week, we are having a community partners meeting focused on the schools. We're trying to get ahead of some issues that we've seen in neighboring counties with higher numbers, and we want to be a support to our school system, so that's going to be happening this Thursday. Most of our McLeod County schools are in a phase 2, which is a hybrid learning, and the models support that. The schools are reaching out to us as needed and are appreciative of our guidance and support. Just an update on the vaccine development. We're continuing to watch that. Nothing has been set in stone, but we continue to attend meetings, and there's going to be a pretty significant webinar next week that we'll attend and hopefully get some more information.
Thank you. Any questions for Barrett? All right, hearing none, we'll move on to Kevin.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Barrett.
Morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Morning.
It's been a while since I've updated you on things, so that means emergency management things. We've been always keeping busy with everything and attending these meetings and trainings and getting the latest information. But I do have an update as far as our FEMA reimbursement that we submitted for April and May of this year. So obviously this has kind of taken a long process for FEMA to get in contact with us. It is still not final, but there's the FEMA Consolidated Resource Center. It's still kind of in pending development phase for that. But per the state, they do have a validation summary that they have forwarded to the state, which the state then reported to me. And it appears at this point that everything we submitted back in April and May for our expenses are going to be covered. Upon looking at the report, I did notice that there is an error in there. They didn't get an updated we got some updated Zoom licenses that we purchased, and there's some wrong numbers in here, but right now I will be working with them on that, but we're going to get $23,575.32, and that is what we've kind of submitted for our invoices that we did. So obviously with this kind of disaster, we can, or we do have to come up with a remaining 25%. FEMA only pays 75% of this, so we can, our local match is just about $5,800 or $5,900. The one good thing I shared with Sheila earlier this week that we can actually use the Coronavirus Relief Fund or the CARES Act money for our local match if we wish to do that. So if that's something that we wish to do, that is an option for the county. So that is pretty much my update I have.
Thank you. And Sheila, you'll be working through whether that makes sense or not?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you. Are any questions for Kevin? All right, thank you.
Thank you,
Sheila?
Kevin.
Thank you. We continue to work through the CARES Act coronavirus relief funds that have been allocated throughout McLeod County, working with the townships and cities the best that we can. I will attend 2 more township meetings this week. As you'll see in the administration items, we have allocated over $682,000 for this round of disbursements, and I have no other updates for the county. We're still operating similar to what we were last meeting. Thank you.
Very good. All right, we'll move on from that for the Government Center update. Travis or Sam, are you here? There they are. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. Quick update on my end, really same thing again. Really budget has maintained kind of right where it's at. I had a little bit of a dirt dialogue last go around. We resolved most of that thanks to the help of the Commissioners and John, and walked through that. Subsequently got all the paving work or base courses down, and we're into landscaping. I'll let Sam talk a little bit about that, but really budget is kind of maintaining. Contingency has not been really touched for the most part since our last walkthrough. We had some electrical things, well, that's a couple months ago already. So questions on the budget? I'll let Sam speak a little bit to schedule.
All right, thank you.
Morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
And Sheila.
Morning.
As you can see from the outside, things are really starting to take shape. The parking lot should be wrapped up next week. Landscaping, we'll have seeding and sodding starting. Inside, paint is complete. finishes are going on. We're about 75% with casework. And then we got rooftop units are started up, boilers starting up next month. We're right on schedule.
All right, any questions?
Just a comment, it looks good. I don't want to say I'm surprised, I knew it would look good, but it's, you go by on 212, if you haven't, you should, it looks very professional.
Yeah, it
It's
looks sharp.
shaping up. Yep.
It's amazing when you say on budget and on schedule, how little questions you get, right?
Yeah, yep, that's our job.
Keep it up.
Keep up
Just a
the good
second.
work. Thank you. Just a question, on a day-to-day basis, about how many workmen or work people are working on the facility, would you say?
Anywhere from 10 to 20.
Okay.
And with the outside work, it's another 10, so it could be 30, but that's dwindling down now, so
Okay, all right.
about 20.
I'd be interested in taking a look at it soon.
Yeah, it'll be a big surprise. I wasn't gonna send any videos. I thought I'd surprise you guys when we walk through.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
All right, we have a presentation, the Minnesota River Area Agency on Aging. I think we gotta hook up some technology. Oh, good.
Turn these monitors on.
I knew it was back there somewhere.
We'll see. I think you'll be able to
All right.
pick it over there.
Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Go ahead.
Wait till it gets caught up here. All right, good. All right, good morning, Commissioners. Good morning, Sheila. Liz, good morning. Want to say my name is Jason Swanson. I'm the Executive Director for the Minnesota River Area Agency on Aging. I was originally scheduled to present in front of the Commissioners here late March. However, we had a little pandemic come through, so we had to do some postponement and move it on. So thank you to Liz for keeping me on the docket and so I could be here today to present to you MNRA. Many of you probably have heard of MNRA, worked with MNRA, or served in some capacity with MNRA. And I want to give you guys an update of kind of what we're doing and kind of some opportunities that we have in working together, not only during the pandemic, but going forward post-pandemic. Because like we talk about the pandemic happening now, what's going on, what are we doing today, what are we doing tomorrow, but we need to start looking down the road post-pandemic recovery and getting back or finding that new normalcy as well. So I'm here today to kind of have an open discussion with you about what MNRA is, who we are, and opportunities to partner together. Our vision here is to help older adults thrive in Southwest Minnesota. And we define older adults as 60 and over, and that's the federal definition that we go by. So if you have a concern with that, take it up with your legislator, and we'll let you hammer that out at that time. So 60 and over is what we focus on. The mission here at MNRA is we provide advocacy, information, resources, and assistance so that older adults can maintain the lifestyle of their choice. Right now, we focus on quality. We're not so much about quantity of life, it's more of the quality of life. What does somebody want to do? Where do they want to live? Do they want to live in their own home as long as possible, which the majority of the population does? How can we support that? How can we make that successful as a family, as a community, as a county? So that's what we really focus on. If someone wants to live in their home as long as possible, what do we need to do? What services, what infrastructure do we need to have in place? If somebody wants to move into assisted living, what do we need to do to make that successful as well? So a little bit of historical review. I'm a history buff by nature, and I love coming to this building. I took a little sightseeing tour before I came in, and it's a lovely building, and I was telling Liz how nice it is to see buildings be repurposed and continue to be used. But MNRA, we act under the Older Americans Act, which came into fruition back in 1965 with LBJ. So we are actually older than Medicaid and Medicare by a few weeks. So we operate under the Older Americans Act. That's our federal funding source. And we report to the Administration for Community Living, which is housed under the Department of Health and Human Services. So that's kind of a little bit where we get our money from, how we operate. And then we are also fortunate enough to work with a state agency. So we get, as you well know, we get to play with the feds and the state, which never, ever work together. And we work with the Department of Human Services, Minnesota Board on Aging for that. You can see here is a map of kind of our planning area. We serve 27 counties here in Minnesota. We have the most counties out of all 7 AAAs in Minnesota. And as you see, we have a wide territory, 27 counties. We have 39 employees. So we are spread out. We have our administrative office in Mankato. We have a satellite office in Slayton, Minnesota. But we have staff that live in the majority of the counties. We have staff that live in Sibley. We have, I myself live in Redwood County. We have staff up in Chippewa, so we're spread out. We also have volunteers that live in all of our counties, and that's what we want to focus on. Even though that we have the majority of our staff living in the Mankato area, we are out and we are running around in the territory. And that's one thing I'll talk about later is how we can work together to make sure that we're hearing the needs of the McLeod County citizens. We're meeting those needs. Forming functions that we do. Every AAA in Minnesota is different. Every AAA in the United States is different. There's over 620 of us in the nation, and we're all operate a little bit differently. A couple of things that we do is, and what everybody does, is administration fund distribution. So under the Older Americans Act, we get dollars on an annual basis allocated to us through Title III. And then we allocate those dollars out to area providers. You may have heard of congregate meals, our home delivered meals, Meals on Wheels. That's our bigger funding source that we give out money to. So we really focus on nutrition. And in this area, you work with Lutheran Social Services in many of the communities. We're the big funder for them at this time. So administration fund distribution. We also do systems development. We go out and we see where are the gaps in services. You know, when we come to Glencoe, when we come to Silver Lake, Hutchinson, you know, what services are we missing or that we need to improve upon to help older adults thrive here in this area. And we work with community partners. We work with McLeod Senior Partnership, the housing partnerships that they have, and see what we can do to fill in those gaps, whether it be technical assistance, providing additional funding, or other support. The big one, and I'm sure everyone's heard of this, is information assistance. We run the senior linkage line here in Minnesota. All the AAAs work with the Minnesota Board on Aging to run the 1-800 number. And that number is used on a daily basis, Monday through Friday, and big time during October 15th through December 7th, which is open enrollment time, when you have the option to look at new health insurance plans and review those. So we have individuals on the phones working with that on a regular basis. We also work with your county department health and human services staff on the senior linkage line to do pre-admission screenings for people going into nursing homes, to do housing verification when people move into assisted livings, and also when people discharge from the nursing homes. They use the return to community staff as well. So that's the senior linkage line. And finally, my passion is advocacy. And when you hear advocacy, you think about lobbying at Capitol Hill or in St. Paul about legislative changes and so on and so forth. But advocacy is really about having a conversation. It's about going into the community and talking about aging. And aging, for whatever reason, has become a hot topic for the wrong reasons in the last couple of years. And we just need to get out and have conversations about, we're all aging. Every day we age. And this is a good thing. And we need to be having the conversations about what our infrastructure looks like and what we can do to improve it for our citizens as well. When I come out to different counties, different communities, I always like to highlight organizations that we work with. You may not see us. We don't drive around with decals on our cars or anything like that. So you may not know that we're out working in communities. But behind the doors, we're working with the following organizations here in your community. Lutheran Social Services being the big one. We attend the senior providers meetings with McLeod County, which is probably the one organization that I've worked with over the last 16 years in this profession that really has all the providers working together. Even though when they're competitive in nature, they still continue to work together for the betterment of not only their organization, but for the citizens as a whole. One thing I want to talk about right now, like I said earlier, is aging. We talk about aging, but it's been taken in a negative connotation lately, and we need to stop it. For lack of a better word, I don't understand why it got to be negative. I was fortunate enough to grow up with 5 grandparents and 3 great-grandparents, all within 10 miles of myself. So I got in trouble a lot because someone always told me to do something different. And not a lot of people have that ability. And as we're in this generation now, my kids, they're able to have their grandparents around with them as well. Not a lot of kids when I was growing up had that luxury. So we're seeing a great shift right now. People are living longer, healthier lives. And this is a good thing, because I have not met a person yet that says, I'm going to hit 25 and I'm going to call it a day. Everybody wants to live a long, fruitful life. And it's our job to support that in whatever ways we can. So right now I come to you and I challenge you as commissioners, as officials in your county and your communities. When you talk about aging, let's flip the narrative. Let's talk about it in a positive light. When a couple years ago we started hearing the words silver tsunami or the silver tidal wave. When I hear tsunami or tidal wave, I think of a disaster. I don't see this as a disaster. I see this as an opportunity. We're living longer, healthier lives. We have an opportunity to have people stay in the workforce. We have an opportunity for people to volunteer to give back. So let's make it an opportunity, not a disaster. You hear people talk a lot about, I struggle with my aging parents, aging relatives, it's a battle to do this or that. It's a dynamic process, aging is. And yeah, we can't do some things we used to do when we were younger, and it changes. We need to be cognizant of that and make that adaptability easy for everybody. And then finally, the one thing I continue to hear when we go out is we need to do something with all these aging people in our communities. What do you want to do? Let's talk about it. Let's have an open conversation. What does your community want? Do they want to have a senior center? Do they want to have an intergenerational center where you have kids mixing with older adults? What is the going rate right now? What is people interested in? And let's find that solution. So instead of saying a negative, we got to find something to do. Let's work together as a community and figure out what's best for the community to do going forward as well. As Sheila mentioned earlier, the CARES Act, there's been a lot of dollars flowing down to help stem the pandemic and how it's hurting some organizations and businesses. We too have come into some recent funds as well. Mainly targeted obviously to older adults and also caregiving. So if you know of organizations, businesses, for-profits, not-for-profits, or even units of government that are looking to expand or build off of what they currently have, we do have some funding available right now. We actually have 3 RFP processes in the hopper right now. So anyone can reach out to myself. I'll leave my, Liz has my information, so if you're interested or you know of an organization interested in some funding, we do have some available right now. This is a competitive RFP, but it's on an ongoing cycle. So when we get the RFP in place, we take a look at it right away so we can get these dollars out the door. And then finally, what I ask from you, I challenge you on the talking positive with aging, but I also ask of you that stay connected. Stay connected with us. You're out and about in your districts, in your county, and you're hearing from your constituents, you're talking to organizations. When you see a need, not a problem, but when you see a need to help somebody over the age of 60 or to help a caregiver, let us know. We will work with you. We will contact our partners. We want to make it successful for the people the age in McLeod County. So we're here to work with you. We look forward to working with you. Stay connected to us. If you're interested in becoming a volunteer or sitting on some additional committees, I know commissioners love sitting on as many committees as possible. Let us know. We can help find a place for you as well. So With that, I'll yield for questions. If you have any questions after I leave, you can certainly shoot me an email as well.
All right, any questions?
Mr.
have
Chair.
one. Oh, go ahead, Ron.
Go ahead, Paul.
A couple years ago, we had put a lot of energy into a program working with the senior linkage line on doing some kind of workshops in different communities across the county, trying to bring people of that age in and talk about programs, but yet unfortunately our turnout was kind of poor.
Yep.
How do we access more people with these programs so that they can, gain the knowledge of what is available, so that we catch them in time before they start making wrong and very costly, expensive decisions down the road?
Yep. Great question, great point. You don't know you need the help until you need the help. And that's something that I don't know what the answer is. But what we've been doing is we've been taking a hard look at how we're advertising, how we're marketing a program. Because when you hear who wants to come to a 2-hour new to Medicare class, it's not riveting information, but it's very important information, and it's something that we need to get out there to that. So one thing that we've been doing is, we've been coming out to these meetings. We're also been talking with some city council meetings, trying to engage community leaders. We've been looking at doing more virtual meetings. We've been forced into it, as everybody else has. And we're actually seeing virtual meetings have been more successful because people can do it in their comfort of their own home and in their pajamas. So we've been pushing that a little bit more as well. And then finally, the other big thing that we're really trying to do is tagging on to another organization. So, for example, let's say you have a very active Kiwanis club in the area. We would present then at that Kiwanis club to get the information to them, and then try and get people off of that when they hear it as well. So, it's a continual battle, and that's something that we continue to work on. But yeah, if you know of a great secret as well, let us know. But basically, we like to ride coattails of our other organizations to get our word out there.
Great, Ron?
Thank you. Jason, you just talked about senior linkage line. I just want to relate to you that my wife and I had some friends that needed some assistance last year, and senior linkage line was very helpful in that respect. It's nice to know that those resources are just a phone call away.
Yes, yes.
A couple of questions. You said you had 39 employees. Are most of those full-time or part-time employees? Or?
The majority of them are full-time.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. And I'm sure that a lot of it is phone service as well as community outreach?
Yep. The majority of our staff is phone service, so they're working from the comfort of their homes right now on the telephones. We do have about 10 of us that go out and do community outreach. In this area, we have Betty Christensen that comes down and serves a lot of the community.
Okay. The other thing, I know with the COVID situation that a lot of the congregate dining has been suspended.
Yep.
Is there a way that people that, let's say they're transitioning from independent living to needing some assistance, can they just call, the Minnesota River Agency on Aging?
Yep. So give the senior linkage line a call, and we can find out what's the best option in the communities. Right now in this area, Lutheran Social Services is doing 2 options for meals. They're doing curbside pickup at traditional congregate dining sites, and they're also doing frozen meals. So people can get frozen meals shipped directly to their houses through Lutheran Social Services, and that's covered. If you're eligible, it can be covered under the Older Americans Act funding. And you can get up to more than 1 meal a day. That was something that I worked very hard on at the beginning of the pandemic. So people can order up to 2, now even 3 meals a day if need be, and depending on the household as well. If I may touch on the congregate dining, I know a lot of communities are anxious to get back into their senior centers or to their congregate dining. We had a recent meeting with the Minnesota Board on Aging. They provided some guidance on what to do with opening dining sites. At this time, I am not an advocate to opening in our dining sites in our areas. As we're seeing spikes now come, which we're not surprised of with people going back to the workforce via schools and school kids back in there, I don't think it's an appropriate time to have our seniors going back into those sites. So we're still looking at January 1st as a potential review to go back and congregate dining sites. But at this time, I don't feel it's safe.
All right. That leads me to another question or concern. A lot of these congregate dining sites are, some older facilities, maybe don't have a kitchen with up-to-date equipment. Do you anticipate some COVID funding could be used to, bring sites up to date and, more sanitary dishwashing systems, for example?
Yep. So there's two concerns that came out of this, the pandemic. One was if we can't get back in there, we're going to lose people, potential closures, and that's the last thing we want to see is closures. On that conversation we had then was like, let's look at now's an opportunity to upgrade, to get some fixtures going in there because no one's coming in. Now's the perfect time for remodeling. So we are looking at that at a few sites. I don't know if we have any sites in McLeod County, but I will take it back to my contact at LSS and see where we're at.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Yeah, Jason, thank you. It's a really good presentation. I can feel your enthusiasm in it, so that helps. We work in mid-Minnesota with, and her first name escapes me, but with Snyder.
Oh, Maureen Melgard Schneider.
And she
won't let you forget your first name. Don't tell her that.
I apologize for that, but she's another one she is an older person, and she addresses us at every meeting and covers a lot of this. And and it's come up several times. I think it's really good that both 4-H kids are here and you're here at the same time, because I think you commented on it, the communication with older people and kids, it's really gone. I mean, I can tell it, I'm probably the older one on here, and it's probably a lot of our fault, but, they pushed us off the farms or tried to, and we went on about our business, and now farming, and this is an ag community. So those two working together, I think is a really good thing. And a couple of ag presentations that I had on high stress to the farmers, the family units, and both your organization and 4-H has come up as an aid. Some of the psychologists that work with the ag community have said that 4-H, and they didn't specifically go to MINRA, but that those type of organizations are really helpful in combating the stress that the ag community is feeling. So I thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
one more comment. I know we're going over here. You mentioned resources that are available to people in our community. If you get a hold of Liz, we'll work with you to post those in our CARES Act and COVID section of our website.
Perfect.
And Commissioner Szymanski asked about funding for local facilities that have congregate dining. We have not had any apply for our CARES Act dollars. They are able to do that. The problem you're going to run into is that most of those places will not be able to schedule construction before the dollars have to be used. So with the federal regulations that have been put on the use of those dollars, that is what will be a stop for a lot of those places, because they cannot get someone in there in time to have that done. But if there is something we can work with you on, please let us know.
Perfect.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
All right. We'll have our 4-H update.
Morning, Darcy.
Good morning.
Morning.
Morning, Commissioners. Thank you for having us here. Wait for that to get up there, and then we'll go from there, so. All right, first of all, I want to say it's nice to be here in person with you. I've had lots of conversations, as all of you know, throughout spring and summer, trying to figure out direction and what we want to do as far as 4-H programming with all of the chaos of COVID. So today we're here to do our annual report for you, just so you have a little bit of a feel of what things we've been doing throughout the spring and summer, because that is our busiest time of year for most of our 4-Hers. So you guys know me, but I'm Darcy Cole. I'm your extension educator for 4-H youth development here in your county, and proud to be back in my home county, and also proud to be able to serve all of the 4-Hers and the families in our community. I'm going to let our 3 4-Hers introduce themselves and just tell you a little bit about their experiences, and then we'll kind of hop into highlighting some of the incredible things that these youth were doing throughout the course of our summer.
So hi, my name is Julia Quast. I am the Federation Vice President for our County 4-H Club. I go to Watertown for school. I am also a participant in FFA. I am the president for that. And I show beef cattle, goats. This year I'm going to be showing sheep newly, and I usually show rabbits, but I did not do that this year. So yeah, that's a little bit about me.
My name is McKenna Wright. I'm from Hutchinson. In 4-H, I participate in the shooting sports program, and I do archery in that. Before COVID, I did dairy judging and dairy bowl, and then now I did like general projects and like self-determined and all of that stuff. And I also show dairy, swine, and beef.
Good morning. My name is Emma Becker. I am from Glencoe, and I am in the Glencoe Junior Pioneers 4-H Club. Right now I'm the secretary for the federation, so over the whole county. That's pretty exciting. I'm a senior, and I currently attend Ridgewater College. And I show goats, and this year I was first year showing sheep. That was pretty new, pretty exciting. And I do a few static projects, such as performing arts. That's me.
All right, thank you. And all of these ladies are also newly elected 4-H Federation officers, which is our county level administrative group that kind of makes decisions on what we want to do with our program. So I want to highlight for you a few demographic things so you can see a little bit about who's involved in our program and kind of what we're doing. We have 9 community clubs throughout the county, those varying from small size with about 10 kids all the way up to our largest club out of Hutchinson has about 75, so a wide range in what those look like and what they specialize in. This past year, which just finished for us on September 30th, we ended our year with 311 community club members, so those are kids who are part of what we consider probably our typical 4-H program, and they're involved with our clubs. We had 125 after-school and summer program participants this last year, and those come from partners that we have with the different school-age daycares throughout the county, and I'll talk a little bit about that on my next slide and give you an overview of who those are and how we work with them. Throughout the year, we had about 95 screen volunteers, so just under 100, and they contributed approximately 10,000 hours throughout the year, which, if equivalent to paid hours, would be about $250,000 worth of time that they are devoting to our program here in McLeod County throughout the past year. Some of the programs we did this summer, obviously, things look different. It was a time where we had to really think differently about how things look and feel. A lot of things were offered virtually, but we did have some opportunities to be in person for things as well. We offered a soap making class in the middle of July virtually, so we had an opportunity for 4-H volunteers and 4-Hers to come together and learn how to make soap from scratch, and that was a pretty cool class. We've offered that in person in the past. But this was a way for us to still offer that educational opportunity, but in a different way. We also offered a series of poultry workshops. We had 6 workshops that we did throughout the course of the summer, focusing on different poultry-related topics, everything from how to select your birds and how to feed them to how to hatch them from eggs. So just a wide opportunity for those kids to gain some more knowledge around their poultry projects. And something that we've offered a little bit in the past, but maybe not quite to that extent. But with things being virtual, it gave us an opportunity to explore different educational opportunities. We also offered in person this summer in July our paint factory programs that we do. It was a great opportunity for us to reach out to the community and have an opportunity for kids to come in person to something. People really appreciated that opportunity. As you'd probably guess, there were a lot of COVID safety protocol in place that we needed to follow, but it was a great opportunity for those kids to just get get together and be able to see each other in person and learn how to paint. And then we offered our younger kids in the morning, and then we always offer an opportunity for those older youth to get together and paint as well. So we do that in the afternoon. We offered regional residential camp like we typically do in June. However, this year was all virtual. And one of the cool parts with that was that then there were no registration fees. So it offered the opportunity for kids to be able to connect with camp that maybe wouldn't have the opportunity because they can't commit to 3 days of going to camp, but this way they could pick and choose opportunities that worked well for them. So we saw really good registration in that. We partnered with 3 different school-age daycares throughout the summer and offered them kit lessons. So if you remember when I came in the spring, we talked about preparing supply kits around different educational topics that people could request from the community or those daycare centers. So the 3 that we distributed kits to, and there were 6 kits throughout the course of the summer, 2 each month, included the Panther Adventure Club, that's out of the Glencoe Silver Lake School District, the Lester Prairie Kids Depot, and then a new partner for us this summer was Little Lambs Daycare out of Hutchinson. And they also took part in all of those activities, plus offered additional 4-H activities outside of that. We also, in the spring, offered weekly connect times for our members and for our volunteers to get together, to have that contact time virtually, and just get to see each other and kind of check in around what people were doing and help them to think creatively about what 4-H project work could look like throughout the course of the summer, since we knew things weren't going to be what they typically are. We also were really on the forefront of 4-H programs of stepping forward and offering in-person things as soon as we could. So once we got past July 1st, we had the okay to be able to resume some in-person things. So we started up with our in-person horse arena practices. Those were every week where our kids got to come in and they got to have clinicians teach them different topics every week and just get some time to be together and be able to ride in the arena. We had heard lots of comments about people just being glad to have the opportunity to be in person, to connect, to get to see each other, and it helped to reduce some of those feelings of isolation that people had. Around that same time, we also started our shooting sports practices out at Gopher Campfire. We have some incredible volunteers who are very committed to that, and we saw this summer a large spike in numbers, again, because people were looking for something positive to do in person and to be able to interact with each other. So that, as a whole, went really well. Typically, in the summer, our shooting sports program numbers drop a lot from what winter looks like because people are busier and there's a lot of things that are asking for polls on their time. But this year we did not see that drop just because of the fact that we were offering a positive in-person opportunity for kids that may have been involved in our program in the past, or we had a lot of new members that came in to be able to do that. So that's a little bit of kind of high-level overview of what we had going on. I am going to turn it over to McKenna right now so that she can share with you a little bit about our showcase opportunities. I will say, I don't know if she was real impressed with her picture there in the center, but it showcases her doing her static judging virtually with one of her projects. But I'll let her share a little bit with you about that.
So we had 120 youth showcases and then 677 projects. Top projects are horses, crafts and fine arts, and clover buds, and beef and photography.
So this summer I mentioned that we did kit activities since we weren't able to have kids come together for day camps. So throughout the course of the summer we distributed 361 kits, and those were each project activities around a topic that offered 3 different educational things. So for example, one of them we did was candy science, another one we did was around aerospace, but we mailed all of those out from our office so that kids could have an educational opportunity that look different from 4-H in their typical in-person things.
So I did participate in the static judging, but we had 76 exhibitors, and then we had the options, and we had 5 volunteers, and virtually for fair entry. And for the static judging, it was really interesting because it was something new this year, and I got to participate into it. And basically, it was just, you go to a website, you put in a photo of your thing with a short description of it, and then you have a little judging thing on a Zoom call, which was really nice because at the normal fair, you're trying to get to different places and you gotta wait in lines, but this is just you enter in, so it's a lot more neat, and yeah.
Just to add on to a little bit to what McKenna said is I did the state fair judging because I got up to that level, and it was very nice and it was very clean. And what we did is we were in a Zoom call with about 3 or 4 other people that we all explained our projects, and usually they had a Google slide going, and it was very nice. And all in all, it just went really well with the whole static projects. So anyway. So to talk a little bit about the animal science showcases, so we had in-person shows and then virtual interviews. So personally, I love the in-person shows just because I know in other counties they had the whole virtual shows thing, and there just wasn't as many numbers. You didn't get as many people going out just because it was kind of, you worked for one thing. Or, for 4-H you work, towards one goal, and that's to go to the show and, obviously to win and to have a good time. And that whole virtual thing, it's just not the same feel. But we had virtual interviews, and personally, I liked them. They were really nice because all you do is you sit in front of somebody and you explain your project, and they'll ask you questions. So obviously, I show beef, so they're, ask me questions about my beef project and what I had, my ideas for breeding and all that kind of stuff. So it was really nice being able to just, talk to people about that. Our in-person shows were August 10th through the 15th. Our interviews were August 17th through the 20th. We had 84 exhibitors, 376 projects, and 155 volunteers. Just a little bit about the whole, keeping up with the whole COVID procedures and things. While we had in-person shows, we were wiping down stuff. We had people telling other people to socially distance. When you were in buildings, you had a mask on, and everybody kind of, went with the whole guidelines thing, and it was really nice, so. Just sit down. Okay, next we have the livestock auction. So, we had a live virtual auction, by Fair Hay Sales. Pre-bidding was August 18th through the 24th, and the live event was the 24th. There were 32 participants and 375 in premium sales. So practically what this livestock auction is, it's a blue ribbon auction, and it's to help 4-H'ers keep putting money into their projects for years to come. So they'll show off their market animals, and they'll show off, if you get a Grand Champion breeding animal, you can also show that off. But you invite bidders to come, and they can bid on your animal for their ribbon, and it's just for money coming in, and it's just for I forgot the words, but yeah, so that's a livestock auction.
There we go. So our state project showcase everything was virtual this year, so nobody went down to the state fair, did anything in person. We had 6 youth and 9 livestock projects were exhibited there. The livestock numbers were really down this year, again, because it was all virtual. It was very different than what it normally is, and it was a little difficult to understand all the guidelines and go through that, and I think a lot of people just didn't want the headache of trying to figure everything out, so we are down in numbers, but I think everyone that went for the livestock did very well. For static, we had 14 youth that went, and they exhibited 22 static projects. So it was like Julia was talking about with the static projects. Everyone was virtual, so they went into a Zoom call, and all of the Zoom participants got separated into groups, and then they talked about their projects and shared with the other members. I was in the static project for the Zoom for State Fair, and I did performing arts, so that was really cool because they just pulled videos that we had previously submitted, and then we viewed them and talked about them and gave everybody else feedback on what we thought. So that was really nice to have someone else there to critique. So our state showcase honors. So for the state fair overall, we had static placings of 17 blue ribbons and 2 purple ribbons. So that was pretty good. Normally McLeod County does really well at the state fair. So for static online, I'd say that was excellent. And then for our animal science placings, we had 8 top 10 placings and 1, which is 1 reserve champion. And then showmanship, we had an award of excellence. That was 1 person. A finalist, 2 people, and then reserve champion was 1 person again. And then for 3 dairy showcase participants, that were Mackenzie Swanson, and she was number 9. Kylie Lickfeld, my bad. She was 14, and Emma Freehoff was 16.
All right, like what Darcy said before, we started the practices on July 7th. We did have pretty high participation numbers. We had 1 new volunteer. We had the state shoot local match September 12th with 17 participants with 7 air rifle and BB and pistol. Then we had 2 trap and 10 archery. I participated in the archery one, and it was pretty nice. We were all 6 feet apart. You got there's hand sanitizer on the table, and then you set up your bow, and then you get all your stuff ready, and then you shoot.
And as McKenna mentioned, we did these all in person locally, so it was an opportunity for some kids that maybe hadn't gone to the state shoot before to get to actually shoot someplace where they were comfortable and they knew the range. And I think also worth noting, a lot of counties didn't choose to resume their shooting sports practices as they started the summer, and across the state there were actually only 13 local state shoot event. So many counties didn't pick things up and jump into it as fast as we did. We were just lucky to have a lot of volunteers who, across the board with everything that we did throughout the summer, were very supportive and willing to get on board with kind of all of the ideas that as staff we had to get opportunities out there for kids. So again, another really highly successful opportunity this summer for us. So, I want to kind of summarize, why does all this matter? So we're sharing with you about all of these kids participating in things. As many of you know, because you participated in 4-H yourself, 4-H is a life-changing program. It has long-lasting impacts that allow our youth to develop into incredible adults that make positive changes in their community as they come back to us. So we look at some of those stats. We know that 4-Hers are 2 times more likely to plan to go to college, which allows them to be able to have a very successful career path. Our girls in 4-H are 2 times more likely to pursue a career in science when compared to other peers who are not involved in our program. They also are 2 times more likely to get better grades in school, so another thing that helps them be successful. They also are 41% less likely to engage in risky behaviors, which all of you know, an ounce of prevention is way better than having to deal with it on the other end as they come through the legal system. Our youth are also 25% more likely to contribute to their families and communities, and part of that reason is that a big focus of our 4-H program is on community service and having pride in where you live and helping others out whenever you can. And youth in 4-H are also 2.3 times more likely to exercise and be physically active than their same age peers. So a lot of reasons why we appreciate your funding and why your funding now really helps to have impact so that you're not seeing people on less positive things down the road. So kind of what's next, as you probably know, things look a little bit different this fall, just as they did in the spring and summer. So right now is National 4-H Week, so we're doing a lot of promotional activities. We have a social media challenge happening. We've got daily trivia on Facebook for prizes, as well as just some ads on the radio, some things in the paper, just a lot of different ways for us to get out and spread the word about 4-H. It's really just kind of our focus time of that. We also right now are doing all of our county and club chartering and tax forms, so those are the forms that they need to fill out to continue to be a 4-H club for the year, and then just doing all of those IRS expectations, because all of our clubs and counties have funds and checking accounts. We also will be offering a virtual club officer training. So in past, and some of you have taught our president sections of that, so that you know, that's usually been in person in October. This year we're looking at that regionally, and we will be with the surrounding counties in November. And we're going to be offering 3 nights of that with kind of some general sessions to start the week. And then later in the week, we'll have specific sessions for all of our officers. And we do have a volunteer here from McLeod County who will be co-teaching that treasurer's portion with me. We also are doing some virtual volunteer gatherings. In the past, we've offered 1 in-person volunteer training that happens statewide. This year, those are being offered virtually with a number of topics, so people can kind of pick and choose a little bit more what is relevant for their club. And then they also have the opportunity to connect with volunteers throughout the state versus more just solely their county. And then coming up on November 1st, we're doing our awards celebration, and we decided at our September Federation meeting that we're going to do a drive-in event. So we'll have that at the fairgrounds where people can come in and they can tune in from their car, and we'll offer desserts just like we always do for them, so they can share their desserts in their vehicle and kind of watch our officers on a stage to be able to share and highlight all of the incredible achievements that our 4-Hers and volunteers had with our program during the past year. That's just a little bit of highlight of kind of what's on the horizon. So at this point, I'd like to open up to any questions or comments any of you may have at this time for myself or for these incredible youth that are here presenting today. Again, I want to thank you for your continued support of our 4-H program. Your support allows us to be able to do all the incredible things that we do in our community, so thank you. I mean, as you guys know, whenever we need something, we come to you and you're supportive of it and you really don't question it, and we appreciate that because that is not the case in all counties, so thank you. But what questions do you have or comments?
Any questions for Darcy or the?
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Paul, go ahead.
About a month and a half ago after in-person shows, I gave a report on that, and I'll just grade some of that again. Our ability to put together an in-person show for these kids and our shooting sports program as well is something that very few kids nationwide were able to participate in. And we were able to put that together because of our extremely high-quality staff, our volunteers, our communities, all the way through our county staff and county board. Recognize that these kids will move forward and be an absolute asset to their community, and they're worth all of the investment that we can put forward into them. So thank you for coming today.
Thank
Doug?
you, Paul.
Yes, I just want to thank you for all your hard work. It's hard enough in a regular year now with the pandemic. You guys did an excellent job, so I hope you're proud of yourself because I'm proud of you.
All right. Anything else?
Yeah, Mr. Chair. Darcy and 4-Hers, I'd applaud you all for all the work you've put in, and someday you're going to be sitting on boards like this, and it's going to be because of your 4-H background that you'll be able to handle the situations that you will be put in the future. So congratulations on a great job, and continue the good work. Thank you.
Ron?
All right, Mr. Chair, and thank you, ladies, for coming to visit with us this morning. Just out of curiosity, I know you represent the 4-H Federation across the county, but if each of you could just tell us what age you started at 4-H and what career path you see yourself going on into your adult life.
Should I start out? Okay, so I was a McLeod County 4-Her myself. I was a member of the Coma Acorns, which McKenna is a member of and where my kids are members of right now. I started in 4-H as a kindergartner and shifted through the program all the way till my first year of college, so 13 years in the program. When I was in elementary school, I thought the 4-H lady was awesome, and I wanted to do that. So that was Bernie O'Rourke at the time. So that inspired me to go to school for agricultural education. So I went to college, got a degree in that so I could teach ag. Had a summer intern experience in Carver County that really opened my eyes up to doing this as a career and kind of shifted from classroom to 4-H at that point, and been doing this ever since, 15 years already, which is kind of wild to think. But I am really happy to have the opportunity and honored to be able to serve in my home county and to serve these 4-Hers and volunteers. So there's an example for you since you all kind of look dumbstruck.
So I'm from Lester Prairie, but I go to the Winstead Jolly Juniors 4-H club. I've been in 4-H since I was in kindergarten, so 10 or 11 years. So that's kind of what it is, and I want to stay on the path for agriculture, and I know I want to go to college and do something in the agricultural industry, but I'm not sure quite yet, and I'm only in 10th grade, so I've got some time to figure it out, but it's coming up soon here, so.
Thank you.
Don't jump all at once.
Yep, easy.
Like what Darcy said, I'm part of the Acoma Acorns, and I've been in 4-H for either 9 or 10 years. I believe it's 9, but it could possibly be 10. I don't really remember. As far as a career goes, I'm going to do something in ag, I do believe, and I'm hoping it's something that has to do with cattle. Not quite sure what that's going to bring, but something like that.
Thank you.
So I'm Emma Becker, and I'm from Glencoe, and I'm not originally from here. So in the McLeod County program, I've been in 4-H. This is my 10th year, so pretty excited about that. As far as career paths go, I applied to Ridgewater College for next year, and I actually got accepted into the electrician program, so I'm going to be doing that for the next couple of years.
Awesome.
All right. Thank you again, ladies.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Just one real.
They got to get to school, you know that, right?
I know.
They don't want to go to school. They're on hybrid, and this happens to be an in-person day, so ask away.
Well, just before Darcy leaves, I do remember I had kids in 4-H too, and I remember her as a 4-Her, and I'm glad that she got back in her home county, because her hard work really shows when you've got roots, and we're lucky to have you. Thank you.
All right, I could keep going, but I'm going to let you off the hook, okay? So thank you very much for your time.
All right, thank you. Appreciate the opportunity.
All right, we've got to kind of reset the screen and everything here, so let's take 5 minutes and do that. So about 5 after 10. Health and Human Services. Welcome back.
Thank you. 4-H, that's a hard one to follow. 14-year proud member, Lac Parle Lakers, Lac Parle County.
All right.
Angie, you want to come up? So I have Angie Nelson, Social Services Supervisor, joining me today for any questions on this first one. So the Adult Training and Rehabilitation Center Crossroads is a satellite program of ATHC West, located at a different building, same address in Hutchinson. Crossroads is licensed for 24 people, and West is licensed for 60. Crossroads currently has 10 individuals receiving day treatment and rehabilitation. 4 of these individuals have recently chosen to return during the pandemic, and the other 6 individuals remain admitted to ATHC, but have chosen to wait until a later date to return. So Crossroads is requesting to close. They are not going to serve less people. They just have more space available to them than they really need. And the county board has to approve any DT&H closures. Staff is supporting this, and Angie and her team have made sure that all recipients have the services that are available to them, so no clients will go without service. So we are asking for the approval of the permanent closure of Adult Training and Rehabilitation Center Crossroads as of October 1st, 2020, and authorize myself, Barrett Spores, McLeod County Health and Human Services Director, to sign the Department of Human Services Determination of Need application on behalf of the county board.
That's okay. All right. Any questions?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Yeah, Barrett, will this, by doing this, will this affect anything in the long-term years down the road or something, that this could possibly be reopened at some point, or is this absolutely over and done?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I have worked with Tanya Beimers very closely on this. This was probably coming before COVID even. You know, the push from DHS and Minnesota to get people in the community, not have the segregated work programs anymore. This was coming either way. Because of that, it's a positive thing. It means they're having more people out working in the community, more hopefully individual sites where people are able to have a one-on-one staff or even be independent, and also some crew work. So it says a lot for ATHC to be doing this, And we're just happy they can stay in the community and keep serving the people who do have this need. But we need to be looking at the people who don't need to be there and really looking the people who are there to try to give them new opportunities.
Okay.
So yeah, to answer your question, we could look at it down the road. Will that happen? Probably not.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Ron, do you have a question?
Mr. Chair, I move the approval of the closure of the DT&H facility at Hutchinson with ATHC.
Motion by Commissioner Szymanski, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Polmeyer, any discussion?
And the motion includes the authority to sign on behalf of McLeod County by Ms. Spores.
Yes.
Very good.
Included.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right.
Thank you. Thanks, Angie. Our next one is the approval of the 2021-2022 Community Support Program for Adult Mental Health Contract. We have this contract every year. The total award for the county is $223,360. It's the same award as we have this current year. There are no changes in the duties required. We are providing all those services right now. The Department of Human Services has switched to using a contract format, and they're no longer accepting hard copies of signed contracts and will only use the DocuSign process. So I am asking for the approval of the 2021-2022 Community Support Program for Adult Mental Health Contract and authorize myself, Barrett Spores, McLeod County Health and Human Services Director, to sign the contract on behalf of McLeod County Board.
Any questions?
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Barrett, just for clarification, the funding allocation is for 1 year, or is it 2 calendar years that we're,
It's for 1 year.
okay, just,
Mr. Chair, I'll move the approval of the 2021-2022 Community Act with Barrett Spores being able to sign the contract for us.
Motion by Commissioner Polmeyer, is there a second?
second?
Second by Commissioner Szymanski, any discussion? Hearing none, proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. My third request today is McLeod County Health and Human Services is in need of a child's mental health clinical supervisor in order for us to bill for services. We have a contract with, or a potential contract with Ashley Hubble to provide this clinical supervision for the period of September 15th, 2020 through the end of the year, December 31st, 2020, at a cost not to exceed $2,720. This is lower in cost than our previous clinical supervisor contract. So I'm requesting the approval of the contract with Ashley Hubble for children's mental health clinical supervision for the period of September 15th, 2020 through December 31st, 2020, for the cost not to exceed $2,720 with funds from the individual and family social services budget.
Any questions?
Mr. Chair, I move to approve this contract.
Motion by Commissioner Polmeyer, is there a second?
Second?
Second by Commissioner Szymanski, any discussion? Hearing none, proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sheriff's Office. Morning.
Good morning. Morning, Tim.
Morning.
So I'm here to request permission or approval to purchase the equipment from the city of Silver Lake that they had utilized for their police department. Obviously, everyone's aware that we contracted for police services with them. The equipment is listed on the attachment for a total price of $28,500.
And this, for whatever, Tim was there, but this was part of the negotiations as we talked through it. So,
correct.
So just so the commissioners are aware of that this isn't a surprise as it went through.
Correct, and this was approved by the Silver Lake City Council at their last meeting.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the purchase of the Silver Lake equipment for the price of $28,500.
Motion by Commissioner Szymanski.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Kruger. Any discussion? Hearing none, proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Public Works. Good morning, John.
Good morning.
Morning, John.
One item for you to consider today, we received a quote from Structural Specialties out of Hutchinson for the demolition of Bridge 839. Bridge 839 is the former crossing where the current County Road 11 bridge is on the South Fork of the Crow. That one remained in place since 1904. Not sure why it wasn't replaced or demolition the last time the bridge was built, but at any rate, it's still there. The quote from Structural Specialties is for $10,000. Another quote we received from Everstrong Construction was $28,750. We have been trying to work with the city, the Forest City Threshers. They have a club, and they've been interested in looking for that bridge and trying to preserve it and move it. With the COVID and everything, they just can't get the funds together and get a plan to move that. So that's why I'm coming forward to approve the quote to get the old bridge demolished. If they, for some reason, the next few weeks, if they can come together with something, we'd reevaluate that, but I just don't see that happening. So the plan would be to get that bridge removed this fall.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Yeah, I've gotten a few calls on it. I don't know why, but it's just for safety reasons. There seems to be some partying going on down there, carrying on, that people are in the community have been worried about kids getting hurt. So I'd move to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Kruger, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Szymanski. Any discussion?
John, Mr. Chair, for me. Structural Specialties, they'll take care of disposing of it. It'll be scrap iron, or do you think they're going to take it apart to try and sell it off? Or
They typically demolish it, and then they have to, actually the steel's got lead paint in it, so they have to dispose of it at an approved site. They told me they use someone in the cities, I think, but they have to follow all the regulated waste abatement stuff.
All right. This a wood deck on this bridge yet, or?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Any further discussion?
What's going to happen with the access from the east?
Access from the east will just be shut off. That's currently the private landowner's property.
Is it going to be removed, or don't you know that?
We don't plan to do anything with the access. It's really kind of not really there now. There's a kind of a semi-path, but it's really not accessible.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Mr. Young, is that an issue? I mean, is there a liability if it looks like a road?
Well, if the issue is people going down there to party, taking out the bridge isn't going to stop them from going
I
to
agree.
party.
Swimming party.
All right, any further discussion?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I kind of support I understand the need for the removal because of the safety factors. I know one of the landowners there has been working, trying to get the Forest City Threshers to do something with this, but as long as we have that option yet for the next few weeks, if they can pull something together, I'll support this then.
All right, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
One last question, John. The bridge is county property, but land underneath the bridge is not county property, or do we have that?
What the county has done in the past has purchased easements, so we probably haven't got anything of record showing that we have any ownership interest whatsoever.
Okay.
This bridge hasn't been in use since at least 1980. And we didn't start recording and documenting our easements until the late 70s.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mike.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Auditor Treasurer.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
So today I'm here for two items. The first is the notification of 2019 tax increment financial disclosures from the McLeod County cities. This is a requirement under statute for the municipalities to annually publish and also notify the county auditor and the county board. As you may know, TIF is a financial tool that helps uses tax increments to finance public improvement, whether it be redevelopment, economic housing, or for other projects. Do you have any concerns or questions?
Do you need any action on that?
No, I do not.
All right.
Okay, the second item I am here for is to consider the approval of closure of the McLeod County License Center services on Monday, November 2nd through Tuesday, November 3rd, pending approval, of course, from the Driver and Vehicle Services through a variance request. Due to the influx of ballots that could possibly either be dropped off, mailed, or voted in person on those 2 days, and keeping in mind social distancing and the capacity that I have there at the North Complex, I recommend a closure of the License Center services to allow staff, election staff, to focus on the general election activity in the same facility.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
The reason that this is necessary is that there's a statutory requirement that the License Bureau be open 40 hours per week, and the Auditor Treasurer is seeking a variance, and who gives that to you, MnDOT?
Driver and Vehicle Services.
So the DVS gives it to them, otherwise they would be in violation, and it could jeopardize their ability to operate.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
You haven't heard anything back from, did you apply for the variance or yet? You haven't heard?
I did submit the variance request last week, but I haven't gotten approval or denial of yet.
And I think it's going to be important mainly because of the COVID situation and the number of people that'll probably come through. And I think we're going to have to do a little work to try and get a line going through the building rather than turn around and come back. So there's other things. So I'd move to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Kruger, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Wright. Any discussion?
Just so you're aware, this isn't going to make it happen. It can't happen unless she actually gets the variance.
Yep. Any further discussion? Hearing none, proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just a quick question, Connie. If this is successful and you do get the variance, can you just cover how you, the plans to notify the public or promote that will be closed for 2 days so everybody's aware?
Right, we'll need to publish that, and we can do that also through social media and have administrations help with working on that.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
And if it goes through, we can refer, I mean, they can still go to Sibley County, for instance, or even over to Hutch to get, I mean, it's not like we're stopping anybody from getting a license if they absolutely need one.
Exactly. In the case of the variance request, which I have had to obtain for weather-related, dates in the past, you do need to list the closest licensing center on the request at the door, so.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
We have a media notification group that we use, so there'll be newspapers, radio, all of the cities, everyone will be notified. And of course, like you said, they'll be directed to go to Hutchinson, which is closest, so you'll notify them as well, I'm sure. But we'll use our social media and our website.
And what is the timeline about the variance? When will you know?
I don't have an idea on that. I'm sorry.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Employee relations.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Consider approval of memorandum of agreement with American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, AFSCME, addressing Article 21, Section C, to clarify how and by whom a position is re-rated.
Any questions about this?
Move to approve, Mr. Chair.
Motion by Commissioner Szymanski. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Wright. Any discussion? Hearing none, proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thanks.
Thank you. All right, we'll move on to our calendars. Rich?
Okay, since our last meeting, we had a workshop after the meeting. 17th, I attended by Zoom the AMC General Government Committee meeting, candidate forum that night. The 18th, the Southwest Mental Health Consortium meeting, again by Zoom. Once again, a lot of discussion on a lot of mental health concerns for rural people across the area that this COVID is apparently hitting some people much harder than some other people. So a big concern is the mental health of all of our population across the area, especially in the southwest where we have less professionals to help with those situations. So if anybody needs help, there is help out there. Make sure you get it, please. Ask for help. We had a personal happening in the city of Broughton here a week ago or so, and right along those same lines. If somebody needs help or is looking for help, please help them get it. Very important. Along with that, 22nd Judicial 8, ditch number 8, final hearing. The next day had a Pack for Families planning retreat, and there again, a lot of concern on mental health across families, and I guess we can't ignore that problem. It's there. 24th, they had a UCAP meeting. Again, housing and mental health are key items on the agendas of those nights. 28th, JD 64 and 32 ditch meetings. We're catching up on some of the ditch meetings apparently, because on the 30th also had the JD Renville Sibley McLeod 24 meeting with hearing on that ditch situation. October 1st had the Prime West monthly meeting, and yesterday I attended by Zoom the Minnesota Rural Counties annual fall meeting. And that brings me up to today.
Yeah, I'll just go through the list quick. CARES Funding Committee has been meeting weekly. Budget Committee attended a couple of those. Long-range planning meeting, and of course that will bring us into today's workshop item. As Rich mentioned, a lot of activity with ditches. JD 8 final hearing. CD 64, we met with our topic of participation with Collins Township on their safety improvements for their road. CD 32 and Judicial Ditch 24 that Rich had mentioned. That meeting, Judicial Ditch 24 is in the hopper for redetermination of benefits. However, it's taking longer than what was kind of Plan A, and there is a lot of collapsed tile along there. And so we met to decide, are we going to wait for redetermination of benefits, or go ahead with the existing people on the benefits and just repair that tile this fall, because a lot of that area was highly affected by a really nasty strip of hail that went through, and so there's not a lot of crop in the way. However, the landowners there and everybody felt that continuing with redetermination of benefits first and next summer construction would be the best. So that's the way we continued with that plan. So, that's it.
All right, the workshop, we had a union negotiations with MNP, and I think that's all figured out. We'll see that contract sometime soon. 64 and 32, the only thing I'll add to that is they were very positive. There were some emotions surrounding it, but the landowners were incredibly professional and helped us work through the issues, and I think we found some great solutions. Had the township meeting, I don't know if anybody mentioned that,
Yep,
where we all came to there, and then some other water issues that, believe it or not, have been on there for like 6 years for me, so I think we're finally winning those.
All right. Mr. Chair, since our last board meeting, we followed up with the workshop, and as you'd mentioned, we had the negotiations, or the Bureau of Mediation Services with the MNP group. Thankfully, that's resolved. On the 28th, we had the ditch meetings for 64 and 32, and that evening we had the Township Association meeting, both here in person in the Glencoe City Center, as well as a lot of township officers attended virtually for that meeting. On October 1st, we had the Prime West Health Joint Powers Board meeting, again, a Zoom meeting there with our 24 counties. Even though the expansion of 11 counties that joined us this year, DHS is putting us through the procurement process because of federal regulations. They've got to open it up. So it's possibly 2022 or 2023 before Prime West is able to serve all of our expansion counties. That's a little disappointing because we've been at this process for a couple of years already. And then yesterday, on the 5th, I by Zoom attended a labor negotiations reopener for our health insurance plan with one of our bargaining units. And that is it, Mr. Chair.
Doug?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Most issues have been covered, but I'll go through. I had, it was a 3-day morning sessions for AMC, Environment and Natural Resource meeting. One of them actually did start prior to our last meeting, but it was all to do with different regulations and rules coming down from Bowser of Clean Water, going through what we're going to support in the legislature. Coming up, I also had Trailblazer in Buffalo. We had a groundbreaking for an expansion of their building in Buffalo. I also had Long-Range Planning Committee meeting, an interesting presentation. And again, it was commented on, JD8 final hearing, that's in my district, and I'm glad to see this one finally getting closed up. I know we're gonna, it's a great improvement, and we're finally, I've got farmers able to do some repairs on some existing tiling, and we're probably going to have some troubles in sometime down the road on slopes. That's another issue, but the weather's been cooperating, and some of the buffer strips and the slopes are growing up with grass, which helps from sloughing in. I also had Buffalo Creek Watershed, which was at their meeting. They addressed a permit for 32, I believe. I hope I'm not getting the two mixed up, but they issued the permit so we could go ahead on the ditch 32 improve. Better not say, is it? Yeah, it actually is an improvement. So we're able to go on with that. We had a couple of CARES Act or CFC meetings. I had an HRA meeting. I had Mid-Minnesota Development. All these meetings are by Zoom. They're not quite as good as being in person. We met with DOT at the Government Center on our crosswalk to the west side of the building, and I think we've got some things set up so we can possibly get that in this year, I hope. I had the Association of Minnesota Counties, or McLeod County Townships meeting on the 28th. Another budget committee meeting. MRC annual meeting was yesterday, again by Zoom. Several presentations, and one I had alluded to earlier that was, I normally don't like them, but it had something to do with, or it had to do with the suicide and the depression rate in agriculture. And I got the gentleman's name, and it would be interesting to get him in the area, being we're so ag-based. He had a lot of, it's usually so negative, which depression and suicide is, but he had an upbeat message on how to recognize it and address it. So with that brings us to today. Thank you.
Sheila, anything to add?
Nothing to add, Mr. Chair, thank you.
All right, let's start taking these administrative items,
Okay,
please.
thank you. Item A, we had previously asked for consider approval to appoint an outside member to the Health and Human Services Committee, and that was tabled on September 15th. We do not have any further action on that specific agenda item. We would be bringing it to you in a different capacity later on.
It's all right, Mike. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, do we have to act on that, being we had set this day, or no?
No, we just did.
That's good enough?
Yep.
Okay.
Good enough.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good enough.
You like that new audio? It's pretty good.
Yeah. Loud.
Mhm. Item B, consider adopting Resolution 20 CB 35, resolution requesting marked crosswalk at the intersection of State Highway 22 and 6th Street in Glencoe, Minnesota, which Commissioner Kruger just mentioned. This would be the main crosswalk that we would like in front of the Government Center for pedestrian access to cross the road. Highway 22 will have some ADA upgrades within the next few years. So instead of putting in the flashing lights crosswalk there right now, we want to start here. I believe our Public Works Department would help to install the crosswalk, correct? So they would come, and it should be able to be done before winter without any issue.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I was at a meeting with a DOT, like I said. It's good, it's adequate, it's probably the best we can do for right now. There's going to be some improvements on Chandler or Highway 22 to come up so we can address either improving them or see that the ones we have are adequate. I'm satisfied with the way the sketches and drawings have been proposed, so I'd move to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Kruger, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Szymanski, any discussion?
Mr. Chair, if I may just ask for clarification, this crosswalk is basically for people that are parking on the street on the opposite
No.
the government center? Or?
This is for all pedestrians that would be accessing maybe via foot. Maybe they don't have a car and they're walking through there. We would also encourage people using the walk across bridge to walk through the front of the government center and use the crosswalk to cross more safely there. The reason we would not want people to cross at Chandler and 7th is because it is a really high traffic intersection. It already is without the government center traffic there. Scott Grivna and I will work together, and we have been already, on directing the employee traffic a very specific direction in and out of the parking lot.
Okay.
And also, we will work on directing the public traffic, much like what we've done at the courthouse over the past 2 years, and that has gone very well. This fits into that plan, Commissioner Szymanski. And also, this would be the county's crosswalk, so we would be responsible for maintaining it. And to maintain our agreement with MnDOT, we would have to make sure that it is kept up and that the paint is done in a timely manner, so.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Commissioner Szymanski, it lines up with 6th Street, which is a street kind of in the middle of the building. So, and there's a sidewalk across from that, and it's ADA, at least right now it's ADA compliant, so that it fits in for where we are right now, so we can get at it, get it done, and get it in. And they can still, if our administrator alluded to, if two semis, if we were to go to 7th Street and Chandler, if 2 semis were stopped, you'd already be blocking traffic down the way. So it's probably the best thing we can do for now. Thanks.
Okay.
All right, any further discussion?
Mr. Chair, just reading through the packet, I understand that McLeod County is responsible for the crosswalk at the intersection, but MnDOT will do the signage on the Highway 22 signage.
Yes.
As far as the warning signs and so forth. So.
Yes.
Great, okay.
As long as we maintain it, like I said.
Yep.
And their signage will stay in place.
All right. We'll call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Item C, consideration of appointment or opening of applications for the position of McLeod County Sheriff. Due to the retirement of Sheriff Scott Raymond, Deputy Chief Timothy Langenfeld is currently our acting McLeod County Sheriff pursuant to Minnesota Statute 375.08. Going forward, the County Board has the option of either appointing an individual to complete the current vacant term through January 2023 or opening the position up for applicants. If the County Board decides to open this position for applicants, the Board would assign the process to relevant staff for direction at the next Board meeting on October 20th. If the County Board decides to appoint the Chief Deputy currently serving as acting sheriff to this position, they would determine an effective date for Chief Deputy Acting Sheriff Langenfeld to become Sheriff of McLeod County, presumably on October 20th. The County Board would determine the process to recommend the salary for Langenfeld for Board consideration on October 20th. Langenfeld would be sworn in at 8:30 a.m. prior to the Board meeting on October 20th. If the County Board decides to appoint any other qualified individual for the position of sheriff, they would follow the same process as listed above for Langenfeld. After an application process would be determined and completed.
And Mr. Chair, when she says qualified, a qualified individual would have to be a resident of McLeod County upon being sworn in and would have to be eligible to be licensed as a peace officer in the state within 1 year of their initial tenure in the office.
Yep, thank you. All right, what are the wishes of the board?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
After I've went through and gave this a lot of thought, and I'm in favor of appointing our Tim Langenfeld as a sheriff, so I guess I'll put that in a motion.
And that's effective on the 20th day of October?
Correct.
All right. Motion by Commissioner Kruger. Is there a second?
Mr. Chair, I would like to second that motion.
Second by Commissioner Szymanski. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations.
Congratulations, Tim.
Congratulations, Tim.
You don't want to take a roll call on that, huh?
So now we have some
Now-
work to be done regarding the salary, and I guess I would recommend, all things considered, that the Budget Committee handle that. Is that acceptable?
Acceptable.
Yep. All right. And then that recommendation will come back that day also.
It will.
So, all right. Anything else that needs to be done?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Congratulations, Tim. Thank you. Item D, consider approval of Coronavirus Relief Fund Committee recommendation for disbursement of funds up to the amounts recommended below upon receipt of documentation of qualifying expenses within program guidelines. If qualifying expenses are less than the approved amount, the lesser amount will be distributed upon approval. The distributions include McLeod County Business and Nonprofits, McLeod County Education Partners, City of Brownton, and Community Partners designees. The total disbursement amount listed by the CRF committee for this round of disbursements is up to $682,486.23. Remembering that we always point out the up to, because if the documentation is not received, that needs to be for the federal guidelines, they would not receive the full amount. Business and nonprofit organizations shown above are being recommended for approval up to those amounts, and upon your approval, the business and nonprofit organizations shown would receive a payment of up to 50% of the approved amount. A second McLeod County funds distribution will occur in November 2020 after the application period closes. At that time, the approved grant recipients will receive up to the remaining 50% of their approved McLeod County grant amount, dependent upon calculation of remaining available funds and qualified expenses. Recipients of the township and city funds will receive 100% payment upon approval by their township or city, first approved by you, the McLeod County Board, due to the fiscal responsibility of the funds. The education partners who are approved will receive the 100% payment upon approval by the board, and community partners will also receive 100% payment upon approval of the county board. Additional verification of documented expenses must be completed prior to distribution of funds, and we've been handling that through PHB accountants with Scott Ziegler and Hutchinson.
Okay. Last time we could take it all at once. So, any questions or anything anybody wants pulled individually? If not, we'll look for a motion to approve the balance.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Wright, second by Commissioner Polmeyer. Any discussion? Hearing none, proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Item E, consideration of adjustment of $11,073.12 of the CARES Act Coronavirus Relief Fund allocation for education. This is to allow for New Century Charter Public School in Hutchinson, Minnesota. They were not counted in the initial allocation. Now I'm asking you to adjust the $500,000 reserve funds, bringing the reserve balance to $488,926.88. However, not all of the schools applied for their funds, so it likely will not even need an allocation, but it needed to be on the board in order to do that. New Century did complete the application process, and their application will be reviewed tomorrow for fund distribution.
All right. Any questions?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Wright. Is there a
Second.
Second by Commissioner Kruger. Any discussion? Hearing none, proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Item F, consider reappointment of Veteran Service Officer Jim Lauer for a 4-year term until November 1, 2024. Jim's personnel review was completed last for last year and would be completed by the end of this year as well.
All right.
Mr.
Questions?
Chair, I move the reappointment of Veteran Service Officer Jim Lauer.
Motion by Commissioner Szymanski. Is there a
Second.
second? Second by Commissioner Kruger. Any discussion? Hearing none, proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Item G, notification of McLeod Drainage Authority public hearing on proposed 2021 drainage levies in which any and all McLeod County and joint ditch systems may be given consideration for 2021 maintenance levies. The Drainage Authority will hear public comment on the proposed annual assessments in the South Ballroom at the Glencoe City Center, 1107 11th Street East, Glencoe, on Tuesday, October 20th at 9:30 a.m. Item H, notification of board workshop to be held following the board meeting on October 20th, 2020 at the Glencoe City Center, again in the senior room, 1107 11th Street East in Glencoe. Thank you.
All right. Open forum. Anyone wish to address the board? Press relations? Seeing and hearing none, looking for a motion to recess to our next board meeting, October 20th, 9 a.m. at the Glencoe City Center.
Move to recess, Mr. Chair.
Motion by Commissioner Szymanski. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Polmeyer. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.